Information and Villains. What Can Go Wrong? By Ghosted by Romance or Brain on Low Battery on AO3. Read by its_Kingston. Summary. Izuku wants to help Tsukauchi and Aizawa with the League of Villains, so he decides to get more information. Or, informant and hacker, maybe vigilante Izuku, trades with Shigaraki. Author's notes. Wrote this instead of sleeping. I should have slept or studied instead, I swear. Anyways, hope you enjoy. Trigger warnings. Mention of bullying. Mention of burns. I don't know what else. Tell me if I forgot one, please. Izuku was staring at the bar he was standing in front of. If his hacking skills were as good as he hoped, this was the headquarters of the League of Villains. It was a strange place to plan all evil things, in Izuku's opinion, but he wasn't a villain, so what did he know? He took a deep breath, hand on his panic button that would immediately send his location and all the analysis he had by now to Tsukauchi and Aizawa, before knocking on the door. He made sure his audio recorder was on and working before squaring his shoulders and looking at the door. It opened a few seconds later, an annoyed-looking guy glaring down at him. Izuku could see the burns littering the man's body.
What do you want?
Izuku's eyes shifted to the ground for a second, before he straightened his back again and stared into the man's eyes head-on. I crave a boon. Can I talk with Shigaraki? Dabi, the burned man, looked Izuku up and down before nodding, probably underestimating Izuku enormously. The door closed in front of him, and Izuku thought about turning around while he still had the chance. But before he could even finish that thought, the door opened again, and Shigaraki, in all his crusty glory, was standing there. They were right. This guy really needs a chapstick, Izuku thought, trying not to laugh out loud.
What do you want, you NPC?
Shigaraki asked, voice raspy and gravelly, like if someone hadn't drunk water in a few weeks. I crave a boon, he repeated. He should probably have expected the weird look he got in response. The wording was pretty old, and Izuku only knew it because of Heathers the Musical.
What does that mean?
Izuku just stared for a second. A tactic to make your opponent nervous, he learned from Aizawa, before answering. It means, I beg you for a favor. Izuku didn't know someone could look as confused as Shigaraki did at the moment, but that was besides the point.
What is it then?
Izuku tilted his head before answering. Information in exchange for other information. The crusty-looking villain turned his head to look inside, and shouted for Kurogiri to handle it. Izuku felt mildly insulted at that. That won't be possible, he pipes up. I'll only speak with you. Izuku knew what he was doing here. If he made Shigaraki feel superior, he'd fall much easier into Izuku's trap. It's an ego thing.
If that's the case, I guess I won't skip the quest just yet.
Izuku internally cheered at the proud look on Shigaraki's face. First step, accomplished. I need information on your goal. In exchange, I can give you whatever you feel inclined to know.
Easy,
the villain answered, his face screaming victory.
My goal is to kill All Might.
Izuku let a curious gleam enter his eyes and a small excited grin form on his face.
Why?
The smug look on Shigaraki's face vanished, and he just stared at Izuku with a confused frown. Izuku giggled in his head. The guy was really easy to read.
What do you mean, why?
Well, you have to have a reason for your hate. Some experience that made you want to kill him. Some end goal you'll only achieve with killing the symbol of peace. Shigaraki continued his staring. He did that a lot now that Izuku thought about it. It kind of looked like Izuku just ruined his whole life view. The man had a midlife crisis in his 20s.
No, I want to kill him because I'm a villain, and he's the #1 hero, and because my sensei doesn't like him.
Ah, there it is. Exactly what Izuku was looking for. He needs more information on this sensei. It's basically the only reason he's here. He felt in his pocket again, making sure the panic button was still there and the recorder still recording, before deciding to just get it over with.
Sensei, do you always do what he tells you?
Izuku saw the exact moment his opposite was ready to give up any and all information he needed. The villain's eyes started to shine, and his shoulders dropped oh so slightly. His frown turned into an excited grin, and his hands were already on the way to start articulating. All in all, He just gave off that excited fanboy energy.
Yeah, he knows anything, and he's really strong. Not even All Might could win against him.
Izuku made sure to lean forward the tiniest bit. It made him look excited, and will hopefully trick the villain into getting even more excited.
Even All Might? Yes, and he saved me.
Izuku's eyes widened slightly. He knew this sensei was manipulating Shigaraki somehow, but by saving him? That was unexpected.
Saved you?
Shigaraki nodded wildly.
I accidentally killed my family when my quirk came in, and no one would help me. And then Sensei came and took me in.
Izuku didn't let Shigaraki see his surprise at that, and just kept nodding along.
He must have a really strong quirk to do all that.
Izuku really didn't like saying things like that. He himself was quirkless after all, and he was sure if he wanted to, most heroes weren't heroes anymore.
He does. He can steal and give quirks. That's so cool.
Izuku didn't even have to fake his admiration for such a quirk. It was just so incredible. He also got what he needed, the evidence that Sensei was all for one.
I know.
Shigaraki seemed to register with who he was talking to, because the man cleared his throat before continuing.
I told you my information. Now you have to give me yours.
Izuku nodded his head, leaning back to his original position again. What do you want to know? He asked while ending his recording.
I want to know which UA student you think I can get to our side the easiest.
Izuku thought about the question for a bit. Of course, he could just lie, but he had this policy that he would always tell the truth when it's about his information.
I think either Todoroki Shoto or Minoru Mineta. You could also try Kaminari Denki.
All three of them had good reasons, and weren't too determined to become heroes. Izuku gave the villain a small nod before turning around and walking away. It's not like he had any reason to stay longer than necessary. As soon as he was out of earshot of the villains, he let out a relieved breath and called Tsukauchi. Hey, Suki, how are you?
Cut the crap, what do you want?
Oh, that's not fair. I called to give you information on Sensei, but if you don't need it...
No, wait. What'd you get?
Izuku chuckled to himself. The detective was always so annoyed at him. He had a good reason to be. Izuku would probably be annoyed with himself all the time, too. His real name is All for One. I think you already know of him, so I'm not going to explain who he is. It was silent on the other side of the phone, so much so that Izuku checked if Tsukauchi might have hung up.
Are you sure?
All for One is supposed to be dead, the detective finally answered. Yeah, I can send you the audio recording I have.
Yeah, do that and let me handle things like that in the future.
Izuku smiled to himself. Tsukauchi could be so worried about him without ever showing it much. He took his recording out of his pocket and sent a copy to Tsukauchi's phone, coded of course, before hanging up. Izuku had a bright grin on his face when he came home. Everything worked out exactly like he planned, and he even got time left that he can use to cause chaos. And just for the record, if Aizawa gets called into Nezu's office the next day, it was not Izuku. And if a few files just happened to appear in Nezu's server with evidence of Bakugo being a bully, not his fault either. That was Information and Villains. What Could Go Wrong? By Ghosted by Romance. Or Brain on Low Battery on AO3. Read by It's_Kingston. Author's Endnotes. Who else watched Heathers the Musical on YouTube? Let me know what you think of this one-shot. Any constructive criticism is welcome, and feedback is appreciated. Okay, goodbye.